Thank you very much. I'm trying to ensure that you see my screen. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Just by any of those kind of excellent. Thank you so very much for joining us. Bottom of the pyramid. We're trying to focus on the bottom of the pyramid because we believe that is where the strength of the pyramid lies. And it is not the kind of bottom where we hear build power from below, but then you see the people from below actually doing all of the heavy lifting and subsidizing the state. We want to ask you three questions today, very important questions. Each of the design studios will be helping us tackle these questions in different ways. And we're asking how we can bring an inclusive policy lens to tackle socioeconomic and cultural barriers. We know there are challenges, but in spite of those, how do we do better? And so how do we reimagine our freedoms within our limitations of resource, conflict, climate, and violence? And what should be the role played by everyone on the demand and supply side of governance as we think about these challenges? In other words, distinguished colleagues, we're asking you to help us reimagine power, access, opportunity, and control, so that those who really do the work are visible and their voices are heard, and there's accountability going towards them, and they're able to participate, and they're able to make those decisions that can change their lives. In other words, we want you to help us map that journey from equality to equity and eventually to achieving justice for everyone. Today, distinguished colleagues, we're going to be having 3 studio workshops. One of the studios is the Social Stratification and Social Cohesion workshop. And the discussion leader is my sister, Miriam Uwe, Special Advisor to the President on Social Investment. And we have our alternate discussion leader, my sister Ekaite Umo, who is the National President, Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities. We have a second studio, Financial Inclusion and Access to Markets. And the discussion leader is my brother Samson Itodo, CEO of Yaga Africa, who's also been at the forefront of the Not Too Young to Run movement. And the alternate discussion leader is my brother Lekon Fatodu, Senior Special Assistant to the Governor of Lagos State on Sustainable Development Goals. And we have a third and final studio this afternoon on social investment and infrastructure. And the discussion leader is my very good brother Amara Wanka, Director, Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Foundation on Public Policy Initiative. And the alternative discussion lead is my sister and a powerhouse of the renewable energy sector, Habiba Ali, CEO, Sosei Renewable Energy Company. Distinguished colleagues, our time budget is 80 minutes. And right now we're doing the introduction as your facilitator. My name is Amina Salihu. You have met the discussion leads and they're going to be facilitating this conversation for the next 40 minutes. I'm trying to take this session below 5 minutes to save time. And I hope we can also give you a bit of time when we come to agenda item number 4 on cross-fertilization, because we'd like to hear from each other in terms of what you have discussed in your groups. And then we'll have a summary for 5 minutes, and that will be our 80 minutes time budget. And in a nutshell, that is the shape and the feel of what we are meant to do this morning. Like my colleague Kebe has said, we're going to have rapporteurs when we move to our breakout rooms, and the rapporteurs will introduce themselves, but please note that the discussion leads will be reporting back. And we also suggest that you leave a few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes at the end of your conversation this afternoon or this morning, depending on what neck of the wood you're joining us from, to be able to have a recap so that you're able to deepen what you're feeding back to the plenary and you don't forget anything that is most important to you. And because we might not have enough time to take the thoughts of other members of the group. Having said that, I would like to pause to ask if there's any burning question that any colleague would like to ask at this point in time about the task. Otherwise, there'll be lots of room to also engage at the design studios, which will be our next item right now. So we have 1 minute if there's any burning question that you'd like to pose to me as facilitator or to the organizers of the NES Nigeria Economic Summit 26. Excellent. I don't see a hand raised. I don't see a voice raised. So I'm assuming that we've all read the notes that was shared earlier And all I've done is just reiterate what you know already. I can see the nods. Thank you so very much. And see you back in plenary in the next 40 minutes. I will be coming to each of the work studios and be hopping here and there just to get a glimpse of your minds. Thank you so very much. My brother Wasi, my sister Keve, were ready for our breakout session. And can you keep time for me or alongside with me? Can you keep time alongside?
Okay, so you are to finish by 1:20.
I'm aware of the time budget. I mean, when we come back now, we're going to have feedback. And we need to be sure that we're using time effectively.
Okay, so I'll prompt you in the chat box.
Welcome back, dear colleagues. Yes, please. Thank you, Kevin. Welcome back. Sorry, you just experienced the tyranny of technology. Once the time is set, it will act on what you have keyed in. We did give extra 5 minutes because of the 5 minutes lag time that we sort of spent trying to get ourselves into our various rooms. But sorry you had to come back. Thank you so very much. I had a peep across the rooms and it was electric. It was so very exciting listening to everyone. May I ask, let me turn up my video because I see that I'm in two places. May I ask for the first workshop studio to please share your thoughts with us between the discussion lead and the rapporteur. We're going to give you 3 minutes in the first instance to share your thoughts. So just give us those very high level thoughts because we're still going to be getting the notes from your conversation. Who would like to go first?
The rapporteur should go first, please. I've done a lot of talking. So
okay,
I was taking very good notes.
Thank you. Okay, so the rapporteur, if the lead said, and it's true, I did hear you explaining the government point of view every time I joined. I was like, this is excellent. So let me ask the rapporteur for social stratification to please speak on behalf of the group. 3 minutes, counting now.
Okay, good day, everyone. Myself and Shona rapported this session on social stratification. So I'm just going to go over some of the points that were earlier raised, that then Shona will take over from where I stopped. So some of the key points that came out of our discussion was that poverty needs to be viewed from the lens of opportunity, that is access to socioeconomic opportunities, access to information, and not just inequality, income inequality and consumption. We also talked about the fact that poverty strengthens and increases level of vulnerability. And one of our discussants, Madam Ekaite, made a strong point on linking disability and poverty because of the lack of access to opportunities for persons with disability basically stems out from barriers across all sectors. And then we moved on to talk about creating acceptable standards, acceptable living standards, and there we talked more on data capturing. And then Madam Mo Adefeso made a strong point about not just capturing data for the sake of capturing data, and then also capturing data from an integrated perspective so that there is a linkage amongst the various ministries, departments, and agencies. And also there were other points which will fall under recommendations, which really looking at how NIMSI can begin to ensure that the national number is available at birth registration. I'm just going to leave it here and allow Shona to continue here.
Well, she has just 1 more minute.
Okay, so it's very brief. So like we have a question to tackle, which is how do we engender a positive mindset and build trust within communities that can spark development. And then members in this group, cluster, we identified a number of points that a number of ways to address this. And one is to focus on change management, which is to ensure that, understand that trust is a process, and to understand that time will be needed in order to build that change. And then also there is a need to define what we is, because sometimes the use of we can also be very discriminatory. So we also pointed that out. And then we also said that it will require governance, real inclusiveness in terms of data collection and planning. And another point that was mentioned is a higher level of people of commitment is required from the people that get to lead us. And then also engaging people at the bottom to understand them better. And then the need to close the skill gap by empowering them, and also to provide support that is valuable to them, and to ensure that the support in itself is not also, excluding some people. And then finally, to also ensure that there's a collective ownership of whatever project is being, created, or whatever program, and also to engage them, not just engaging for engaging sake, but engaging to ensure that you're asking like genuine question, and then you're genuinely curious. And then we also talked about how to capture people like amputees, people that may not have fingers, and all. And then we thought of technology solutions, so there's use of voice recognition, retina scanning. And even though we can't do retina scanning for people who are blind, we thought we mentioned face recognition. So just looking under every rock to ensure that everyone is included in terms of the digital identity. Thank you very much. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. So who would like to go next? Discussant, rapporteur, over to you.
To my group.
Financial inclusion.
Oh, no, David, the rapporteur.
Oh, David, okay, social investment.
Social investment now?
Anyone, financial, if you're ready, Amara, please go ahead.
Okay, all right, let me quickly run through. We did have quite an interesting session. So I'm going to share my screen right now to take us through it. If you don't mind.
Please go ahead.
Okay, good. So we used a tool called Mentimeter to try and gather our thoughts. So we had quite a bit of rapid interaction with the subject matter. We tried to answer the three main questions together, and we introduced a final one. So first is obviously ranking social needs in order of priority. So that's the first question. What are the key priority social needs? And as you can see from the session, we had about 10 different people who interacted, and they ranked 9 needs, and you can see education is by far the number 1, public safety and healthcare, second and third were very close, and then community support as well. Then thereafter you see public space, access to information, transport, sports and recreation, and art. So basically these are what the members of the design workshop or the work studio thought should be the priorities for social investment and infrastructure development. On the second question, we looked at how do we negotiate social contracts that foster trust. Our focus was really on making sure that we're looking at the scope of social contracts that are actually local, not national, because we recognize that local social contracts are usually easier to enforce, and they have a lot more impact on some of the bottom of the pyramid people that we're looking at. And so these are the thoughts. You can see like a word cloud of the thoughts that people came up with. Big there is transparency. People would like to see a whole lot more transparency around social contracts. Also a lot more accountability to make these social contracts more enforceable. So you could see thoughts about, providing opportunities for people to handle their complaints, to enforce their rights under the social contracts, make sure there are consequences, for instance, and so on. There's also, inclusion is actually also big, because people are looking at how consensus is built, how communities are participating, how complaint processes are being handled, how consensus is built, for instance, and how people actually increase their voices and participate in budget debates. And of course, you can see open budgets and so on. So these are kind of like the mashup of thoughts that came.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, and now, the third question we tried to answer. And so we looked at how do we make key social infrastructure assets attractive. And we're looking at the key ones that we actually have identified. So we're looking at education, we're looking at healthcare, we're looking at public safety. And we're saying, we need to introduce mechanisms to protect people's investments. We need to legislate so that policies are stable and so people don't get to turn it over based on their whim and caprices. That we introduce tax breaks and tax incentives for private sector. That we legislate a PPP framework. And the last question that we addressed.
Okay, my brother, that's the very last, right?
Yeah, that's the very last one. And really, all of this is in there. I will share with the Secretariat. And so you can see we had almost about 12 or 13 actions or outcomes that people are recommending. But it's all around legislation, it's all around inclusion, focus on women, food security, and vulnerable people, especially people living with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Excellent methodology. Thank you so very much. And now I can only invite one group, as it were, social investment and infrastructure. I'm sorry, that's the one that I just spoke, right?
Yeah, no, so it's financial
inclusion, therefore, yes. Brother Samson.
Yeah, so David is doing the presentation for the group. David?
Thank you.
All right. Long greetings, everyone. So very key points, we identified that we had to create platforms to ensure that there is increase for access to credit for those who are at the bottom of the pyramid, for access to loans. Policy on integrating technical education should be prioritized. We need an integrated approach towards solving these problems pertaining to those at the bottom of the pyramid. We also need effective mapping. So who are those at the bottom of the pyramid? Why are they categorized as persons at the bottom of the pyramid? And how can we begin to design products that would help improve financial inclusion within this at the bottom of the pyramid? We also identified that information should be available and the information available should also be usable. We also identified that the government needs to plan to improve data infrastructure and ensure that data infrastructure to serve our current demands and the huge demand that is expected in the future, because data is life. Finally, we also identified that a more integrated approach should be adopted in order to ensure that we prefer the right solutions to these problems, where everyone needs to be considered in order, every strata needs to be considered to ensure that the design state, the products that are being designed are effectively all-encompassing. Thank you.
I mean,
Thank you so very much. Yeah, because you still have a minute if you'd like to speak something.
No, just to emphasize the third point about digital justice.
Yes.
2 quick points the group made, fantastic group, I must say, is a human rights approach towards designing policies for digital technology. And it's important that we consider access to data, access to technology as a human right. And it's important to decentralize our tech and communications infrastructure. We can have regional or local banks to promote financial inclusion. And the second point was around design of financial or digital financial products must take into consideration, the diversity of that group that is below the pyramid.
Thank you very much. Thank you, my brother. And now we have just about 10 more minutes left. I would like to have the opportunity to open the floor to take a couple of comments from colleagues from other groups, in case there's something you'd like to respond to or you'd like to react to from a group that is not yours. This is not about you telling us what you've missed. Hajia Mariam, you have the floor. And as Hajia Mariam is speaking, can I please ask every one of us to take the opportunity to do an intro in the chat box so that we know who you are and where you're coming from. So that at least, even though we didn't get a chance to do a general introduction, we can at least hear also where we're all from. Thank you so much. Hajia Mariam, you have the floor. Your mic might still be mute. You have the floor, Hajia Mariam, but your mic is mute.
Just on mute. Thank you for the opportunity, and I want to thank our team members and everyone for the very robust and interactive session we have had, and the feedback that we get from the other two. Quickly, I just wanted to ask the social investment team, how do you address the issue? Right. For instance, if you say education, how do you address the intangibles that are usually left behind because of infrastructure? So for instance, if there's a budget for education, the state and the politicians will look at the building. So let's build schools. What about the quality? And the quality is left behind because you can't measure that except you do that over a period of 2-3 years. You can't do that immediately. So this is why a lot of the issues of quality are left behind. The second question, sorry, with the other one, I don't know if it's very expensive to have banking infrastructure in so many places. Banks work with profit. So I think it's important for us to talk about agents and super agents and the regulation that happens in that sphere to protect the vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So there are 2 questions on the table. Can I please remind everyone, if you've not introduced yourself already in the chat, can you please do so we have it on record who was here?
Hajia, I think they should allow everybody to be able to post for everyone to see, because it limits you. You have to pick who you're sending a message to.
No, but you can send it to everyone. All you need is everyone.
No, it's not allowing for everyone.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, because I can see that. That's a
because you're a panelist.
Sorry about that. We'll try it again in the next 1 minute. Thank you for that observation. I think Mo also noticed that. Thank you. So we have 2 questions. Is there a third so that we can take the questions that we can and we'll answer them in the few minutes we have left? Yes, Samson, are you replying or you're asking a question?
No, I'm asking a question.
Okay, all right. So social investment has
yes. So in view of disruptions in public finance systems, where due to either automation or the gig and informal economy or aging population, governments are unable to generate revenue to fund its programs. What do we think about increased taxation to support the programs that government has? But in actual fact, how is government going to generate the resources, to drive these programs?
Good questions. Thank you so much. We would like to take answers now. I'm not sure we'll be able to take any more.
I can raise my hand.
Amara, you want to speak, right? You want to reply or you want to ask a question?
I want to ask, I want to reply, because this is something that this is a social contracts issue. And I think that in order for government to secure funding for these kinds of interventions, government needs to come and negotiate, justiciable social contracts that guarantee that taxes paid deliver a certain benefit that can be measured. So until we have addressed that social contract issue, until people have built a certain degree of trust that more contribution leads to more benefits, I don't think there's an incentive to do that.
Thank you. It's really about incentivizing what we call the office of the citizen. And thank you for sharing that, Amara. And I think my sister Miriam's question is very important about the intangibles. And I think the intangibles can be measured in a tangible way. Because if you have monitoring and evaluation as an integral part of design at the start, then if you have a bill of quantities then you know what the specification is, and people can measure specifications. And once the BOQ captures the specifications effectively, then whether it's 5 or 10 years, one can tell that this will be a solid structure that will be standing, and that measurement can continue as we go on. So I guess it goes back to what I had some of the groups saying about the use of, building capacity and competence as well as data, access to data and information, and how we democratize that to ensure that, governance is really about governance and not government per se. And what I also like listening to the group was the fact that we recognize that government is really shifting. They're thinking more. We have some technocrats in government who are helping government do things differently. Civil society is beginning to engage more, and we're getting results, but we're not yet there. And so I guess as we think about the bottom of the pyramid, it's important for us to ensure that we create that connect between that bottom of the pyramid and, if you will, the apex of the pyramid. And I like some of the things I heard in the group about the need to have conceptual clarity, and the fact that that bottom of the pyramid is not homogeneous, it is heterogeneous. And so it's not about equality, it's about equity. And we need to understand the needs of everyone. And like we said, inclusion has been recurring, data integrity, gender equity and social inclusion, issues of disability, diversities of gender, geography, generation, disability have actually been recurring. Thank you, Amara. Just posted something in the chat. Is this something you would like us to look at? Or, okay, that's your LinkedIn. That's Amara's LinkedIn profile. Yeah, all right. Thank you very much.
I actually
we'll
wanted to say something, but you didn't see me.
Do so, my sister. Please do so. You have a minute. Yes.
One of the issues at the bottom of the pyramid is the amount of defrauding them that goes on. A lot of them are largely illiterate, fraudulent activities that goes on against them.
Right.
So even while we're building this, one of the things that mitigates against the success is the amount of opportunities they have for fraud. So while we're doing all of this, I would like us to look at that part where they keep investing. I don't want to say much more because I have a short time. Even the cooperative registration is a challenge. To register a cooperative in Lagos is 80,000. Everybody should look at that. It's supposed to be for the poor. Thank you.
I absolutely agree. I remember the work that you and my sister Bosse did around financial inclusion, and even multiple taxation was a big deal issue at the bottom of the pyramid. Dr. Sile, I see your hand up, sir, and then I'll come to Priscilla next. 30 seconds, sir. You need to unmute. Yeah, you're on mute, but we can't hear you for some curious reason. Priscilla, would you like to go next? Because we're really, we have just 1 more minute to go.
Okay, I just wanted to ride on the points that the last speaker just made, because that's a big challenge for us. Some of the women we've been able to convince to embrace digital marketing.
Please carry on, Priscilla. Prof, I'll come back to you, sir.
So they ended up withdrawing because they were defrauded. So they are not yet used to all the workings, internal workings of the digital space. So I will advise that as we begin to encourage people to go in there, we take time to teach them in details some of the negative aspects and the threats that even the digital space poses to them. Because what just happened is they try it once and then it shuts down, and you just see them closing that space for even dialogue.
Thank you so much. We really need to pay attention to the digital infrastructure at the community level. In fact, it's about digital justice. A lot of things are changing. The world of work is changing. There's informalization of work now. You have platform economies, and it's very difficult for the poor to organize. So it's not just the NLCs and the TUCs like you used to have. You now have the Ubers, and the Jumias and co. And you're wondering how we can protect the rights of people like this. And even where we're talking about having masts in communities, and the masts do not reach where people can use their basic touchlight, like we call it, phone, and the touchlight phone is not enabled, for data. People just lose interest. I think I heard one of the groups saying that people will sell the phone because the phone just becomes some kind of tacky acquisition that does not do the job. So we have to be able to give people the things that would work for them, that would actually change their lives reality. Professor Sally, I don't know if you're back. Prof is not back. Okay, Suleiman, you have your hand up. I've just been told we can have 3 more minutes. So that's why I can take one
I
time.
am.
Okay, Prof, please speak, Prof.
Okay, all I wanted to say is that many of those things that have been designed and put in place in the social reinvestment program have been taken by those in the middle of the pyramid. It really reaches those at the bottom of the pyramid. Thank you.
How do we cut out the middle chain and have a direct connect between the apex and the bottom? Excellent intervention. Thank you so much. Suleiman, you have the floor.
Yes.
Then my sister who I'll come to you last.
A major issue is a concept of education at the bottom of the pyramid. Most times our education is set on 6334 curriculum. We go down, someone spends 20 years in school, but those at the bottom of the pyramid want to see short-term impact. So technical education, for example, if it can be done down there, they start innovations, creating simple tools that will help them, like solar lamps, solar, as we said, power is a challenge. Start teaching 5-year-olds how to assemble a makeshift solar panel, a water filter, and co. Before you even think of teaching them physics, chemistry, and how those things work.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, my brother Suleiman. Thank you. And I'm glad my sister Mo is here, because my sister Mo, my sister Miriam, my sister Eka, and I hope I've not missed anybody. Well, actually, and I see my sister Ndidi has joined now. We're actually part of the 2050 agenda for Nigeria and how we can rethink some of our realities. And education has to be for life, not just book learning or degree. There's even the argument about the fact that countries where their children begin to learn at the basic level in vernacular do better than countries that go and borrow another country's vernacular and start with it to teach their children. So there are many things that we need to learn. Thank you so much. My sister Uju, I think you're going to have the last say.
Yeah, thank you very much, Amina, my dear sister. Because of time, I've also posted some things on the chat, but the one I really want to mention is that it's important that we keep looking at what is happening to our youth population. And in many places, including places that we don't look and see, places of detention, imprisonment, and all that. And the issue about the whole of system approach, whole of government approach, how do we ensure that the interface between economy, between social support, between issues about health and education for this very vulnerable group, and it's so critical. So I think most of that, you can see a little bit of what I put in the chat, but I think we need to be thinking not only the ones we can see, but the ones that are behind the walls. We need to follow through. There are people who are coming out day in, day out. First, they are disadvantaged. That's why they're in there. They're coming out day in, day out in the community, and we're not doing enough. We're not doing enough for them because we all have to carry everyone along. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. And I must, on behalf of our host, the organizers of the Nigeria Economic Summit 26, with the theme Building Partnerships for Resilience, I must thank all of you who have participated in this very important conversation on the bottom of the pyramid and how we strengthen the vulnerable. And this has to be a continuing conversation. We have heard you loud and clear. Access is important, opportunity is important. You've helped us to rethink power. You've brought the importance of data to the table, and you have asked important questions about inclusion. How do we ensure inclusion? How do we ensure that the bottom meets the apex without some interested middle level? What kind of legislation do we need? How do we ensure collective ownership, and how is consensus built? I heard this as I went around, all of the groups. And you've also told us that youth and women matter. Persons with disabilities have a right. And even where we have laws, we've got to make sure that the law actually is effective and that the law delivers for all of us. And I cannot thank you enough for sharing your thoughts with us this afternoon. And as you leave, I would like to ask you to please remember to ensure that you have introduced yourself in the chat, and to also thank my colleagues, Keve, Wasiu, Ehi, Grace, Sheung, and Nana from the NESD Secretariat, who have worked so closely with us today. Thank you so very much. I wanted us to close on a note of hope. And so to borrow from the strategy of the Mentimeter that we used earlier, I wanted to share something with you on the screen and to ask you if you can see it. Please just go to mentimeter.com and just share with us your thoughts in terms of what you see on the screen, and then you can exit. And we're going to just see the results coming up. Once you get there, just enter the code 3399152 as you exit. Thank you so very much for joining us this afternoon. Just go to menti.com and type in the code and just tell us what you think so that we can see where we are going on a note of hope or not a note of hope. Thank you so very much, dear colleagues. Thank you very much. I can see the votes coming in as you exit. And as you vote, you can please exit. Thank you so much. Thank you. I see a yes, I see a no, I see a maybe. And a maybe gives me hope in the sense that if we work hard at it, we can get there. I see the yes also growing. Excellent.
Thank you, Auntie Amina.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
you very much for a well coordinated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, my sister Mariam. Thank you so much, everyone. Please vote and then you can exit. Thank you very much. Thank you, dear Secretariat. Thank you.
Thank you, Amina, for a lovely facilitation.
Thank you, Ambrose, my brother. The honor is mine. Thank you. Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you, Amina.
Thank you, Amina. My sister Gami. Thank you, my sister Bothe.
I'm trying to vote and I can't vote.
Thank you, Amina.
Mara, excellent work. Thank you, my sister. Excellent work. Menti.com. If you go to menti.com and then you put in that code 3399152, the code on the screen, you will see my exact same screen. Thank you. Thank you so much, my brother Mara. Please email your group's notes. Thank you so much to the Secretariat. The same email that sent you the note. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Amina. This has been excellently coordinated. Thank you. Thank you. Mariam, nice seeing you. Bye.
Uju, I was saying hello to you. It's been
Adisi, how are you? You're looking great as usual.
How's my husband?
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine.
Now. Okay. I haven't been able to.
Okay, bye.
I don't know.
Bye. Thank you.
Menti.com and it came up with some Japanese things. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you need to put the code to Mariam. Put the code.
Yes, Moses, please put the code 3399. It will ask you for a code so that the NESG also gives you something today. You take away something like we've taken a lot away from.
What, Mariam? Amina, did you say that the code is what? Because I was putting the earlier code we were using in my session. What's the code?
3399. It's on the screen. 3399152. That's the code.
Okay, 9915.
I don't even see it on the screen. No.
52. Don't worry, my sister. We'll have a bilateral.
Okay,
thank you. I think you need to go. Great. So now you can go.
The youth are taking over, so it is a yes.
I've done it. Taking over, really. They have.
Yes.
I think we need to go now. Thank you, Shimite. Thank you so much, everyone. Please vote and exit. We still got 21 colleagues. We shouldn't have 21 colleagues on the line now. We should vote and leave. Otherwise, the Secretariat will throw us out.
So, Shona, are you there?
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
Shona?
Yes, ma'am.
So how do I save the recording? How do I convert it?
Okay, so when you leave, it will just once you leave the meeting, it will pop up on your screen, and then it will start converting.
So I have to leave.
Yes, ma'am. You have to leave.
Yes, you have to leave the meeting, and depending on how you saved it, did you save it in on your system or in your Zoom box? It will tell you whichever one. If you
told her, I have no idea how come I'm recording. It was not deliberate.
My sister, can you have a bilateral with my sister later? Thank you very much. I think we need to go now. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. It doesn't mean you can't still vote. I'll stop sharing the screen, but I won't stop the vote so that you can continue. But I think we need to exit. My sister Chioma, I need to hear your voice. I know you joined a bit late, but you know, I hope you're able to participate. Oh, Nneka, welcome. Nneka, are you just joining?
Yeah, so sorry, I had the time wrong.
Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Did you catch the Mentimeter task?
No, sorry.
Oh, okay, well, at least that one you can do because we're about to leave now. There it is on the screen with the code. Kevin, please feel free to throw us out when
it's also on the chat box.
It's also on the chat
It's
box. Thank you so much.
It's also on the chat box, the link to it and also the
Thank you
passcode.
so much. So you can continue to do it if you want to, you can do that because we really must exit now. Thank you so very much. And bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.